Happy Thursday, everybody. Let's do an end of market update and let's start with Bitcoin. Before I go with Bitcoin, you can see this is the best chart I have here for NASDAQ, and you can see we are in a sell signal right now. We got this sell signal around actually 1641, so end of market. And you can see we had a buy signal here this morning around 2:30 p.m. Eastern, and now we got a sell signal. So you can see MNQ is down pretty heavily, 0.5% looks like. Maybe do I have the right contract? I'm not sure. I have to double check, but yeah, it is moving. Yeah. So this is down pretty heavily, 0.5%, and so yeah, we're in a sell signal right now. Okay, short term. This is a US 100 chart. If I zoom in, so you can see we are near buy area, and if I move it to MNQ, same thing here. We are near buy area, so 17,488 and below. So if you guys are trading futures tonight, so look to buy around below 17,488. And on MES, it's near neutral line, still ways to fall. Dow Jones is also near neutral line, and Russell 2000 is also near neutral line. I think we will get some little bit of downward pressure. We had Intel earnings down more than 10%. Tesla was down earlier today, 12%. UNH is down. So all these big mega caps are going down, and you can even see 3x ETF SOXL is also down. Anyhow, I will review it. Okay, so let's go and open this chart, and then let's start with Bitcoin because that's what you guys like most. So let me find BTC futures. Okay, and then let's go to regular. Oh, well, let me check here. I want to go to regular trading hours. Here you go. Bitcoin. Let's go to 1 hour chart and see if there are any gaps. Let's zoom in. So 1 hour chart, we came very close to filling this gap. Let's see quickly if it's filled or not. If I do a little bit higher, no, still not filled. So Bitcoin will come down, all right? So Bitcoin, let me delete this. I don't know what this line is. So Bitcoin should come down to fill this gap on futures 39,835. This is first gap around 0.92% away, and then second gap is around 2.21%. Okay, so Bitcoin will come down to fill this gap. On Ethereum, there is no gap, all right? So there's one gap to the top, so that we need to be aware of that a pump can happen, all right? So anyhow, so this is daily chart, and we are getting a buy green dot here on RSI. Let me add PPO here. So let's add PPO here. Okay, so on PPO, we still have green line below red line, and until I get that reversal, until I want to see green line above red line. Okay, I don't have that on daily, but I do have a green buy dot, so I think we will get a short-term bounce. We'll get a bounce, and that bounce should fail to come down lower. Okay, so I think what most likely can happen on Bitcoin, we'll get this bounce. It should find resistance somewhere here, and then it should come down later. All right, so that's what I think is most likely scenario, and that should help with Ethereum to fill this gap, which is on the top. So bounce to fill this gap, and then should come back down. All right, so I think that's the most likely scenario which I'm looking for. Um, so yeah, so look to take profits on this bounce. There is some resistance here in this area. You can see if I draw a box here, I can draw a rectangular box here, something like this. Okay, so there's a resistance here. So around 43K, let's say, and it should like go there. It can fail anywhere. Okay, it can doesn't need to go as high as that, but this is a major resistance, so it should fail and then it should come back down. All right, Ethereum we have a gap, so I think since we have a gap on Ethereum, Bitcoin will pump. Let Ethereum fill this gap, and then we're gonna dump. All right. So that's on crypto. VIX, you can see yesterday I was telling VIX is making higher highs, higher lows, and VIX is nicely on this trend line. So I think VIX is getting ready to bounce. And if market drops tomorrow, which VIX will keep bouncing. 1618 and 2125 are the gaps to fill. Let's go to 1 hour chart. Are there any gaps today? No gaps today, just kept going higher. So that's good for VIX bulls. Okay. Now VIX is inversely correlated to S&P 500. If VIX goes higher, S&P 500 goes lower. So keep in mind, VIX is looking very bullish, and because you can see it made new low with divergence on RSI, PPO. So momentum was building higher, and VIX is getting ready to bounce. All right. So That's about for VIX. SPY. Let's go to 1 hour chart. Let's see if there are any gaps first. Let's zoom in. This gap is filled yesterday, so no gaps. Today also we gapped up. You can see 1 hour if I zoom in here. You can see it maybe better here. You can see we had a gap up in morning and then we came back, filled this gap and done. Same thing happened here. We had a gap up yesterday. We came back and filled this gap. All right. So that's an indication gaps do get filled. And then now there is another gap here around 482. All right. So that gap should also fill at some point. So from where we closed today, you can see pre-market we already down 0.22%. So SPY should tomorrow fill this gap around 1.14%. So 482 is the next target, and then there's some more major gaps to the downside. All right, so that's what I'm expecting on S&P 500. So I think we could have topped today. Let's see if we top today, and then we should be going down towards mid-Feb, and then we're gonna bounce again later. All right, so that's what I think should happen. And on triple Qs, which is Nasdaq, this is tech sector. Let's go to 1 hour chart and see if there are any gaps here. This gap is still not filled around 423, so we came very close to filling this gap, and look what happened. We are down 0.59% pre-market, and this gap will be filled. Okay, you're getting very close to the gap, so tomorrow I think we will open at the gaps fill, and then market will decide either to bounce or it will continue down to start filling this other couple of gaps. All right. So let's go back to daily chart on triple Qs. So you can see you see light blue line. This is where we are right now pre-market. So they will fill this gap and we might have topped today. If not, then market will try to another go up and then come down. All right. One thing to note, if I add these moving averages, um, we are still way above green line. So as long as we're above green line, it's a nice bull trend. Also, this white is 20 moving average. So, and then last line of defense is this red lines. These are all going higher. So this is a massive, nice bull trend. So we can even bounce along the tag of this red line and yellow line. Just keep that in mind. All right. As long as we are these above this 50 EMA and 50 SMA, red and light blue, yellow line, we are good to go. And on S&P 500, where did it go? Let me quickly find. Here you go. Same thing here. So as long as we are above this red line, I think all is good. Now this red line is going higher, and then this gap 468. I think at some point we'll fill this gap. Also, this green line, this nice support, that will be ideal zone around 450s, and there's also a gap here. Remember 455. So I'm going to move this a bit higher so we don't miss this gap. So that's going to be a final support area. So that's what I'm looking eventually to fill this gap at 455. All right, so Dow Jones topping out, I think. Very soon we should be looking for a pullback, and same thing on Russell 2000. Uh, Actually, let me see on Dow Jones. Is there any gap on 1 hour chart? No gaps. And IWM also gap up and it came back to fill this gap. All right, now there's another gap around 192. I think they will be looking to fill this gap tomorrow. All right, so looking to fill this gap around 193. Also, there is support here on this 50 SMA, and it can even come down there around 190, and then it can bounce as well. So keep that in mind. All right, so those are major indices. Tesla. All right, massive, massive bad news. Well, earnings were not super bad. They didn't miss, but it's a high interest economy. They're just dumping the stock. This was, I think, very overreaction. So there are two scenarios right now. Okay, so we have to just straight chart in front of us. So there are two possible scenarios from here. So I think the first scenario is what we can get is we can get a bounce. Okay, all the way here, and then we'll come back to. There's also gaps to the downside, 161.98. Also, there's another gap around 145. This major big gap here. So there's two scenario. We bounce to fill this gap and then come down. Or the second scenario is we go going down and then bounce to fill some of these gaps. All right. So no matter how we okay, and then also I wanted to mention once we fill this gap, we should go higher to fill these other gaps. All right. So no matter how we go, either we go bounce, fill this gap first, then come down and then go high, or either we go straight down, fill this gap and then go higher. All these yellow lines are the gaps to fill, and 90% of the gaps will be filled. Okay. So what I want to say is this is like a catching knife. falling knife, so you should try to catch it, right? If you're brave enough, if you're an investor, you should be looking to buy this. And from here, we can even go around 35% upside is possible, okay? So this is a good sign. This is one of the biggest stocks, okay? So don't be afraid to buy this. This is a rare opportunities. When people are scared, you should be looking to buy, okay? And you can see RSI very, very, very oversold, very rare for this to happen. This is the exactly where you should be looking to buy. Don't be afraid. UNH is another biggest mega cap healthcare stock. Actually, this is the top biggest healthcare stock. Look what happened. It came to, I think this Humana, Humana. E- So this is another insurance company. They're saying cost of medical will be higher, and they're dumping. Okay, so they dumped how much? 12%. Very rare for a medical company to get that dump. Okay, now we can see what was happening. It was making new high on lower divergence, and now we're getting dumped. So I want to see some bullish momentum building here, and then it's going to bounce. But anyhow, that's the reason UNH is going down. But it came to support area. So tomorrow, if it comes back to this support around 475-ish, this whole green area, it's a good area to buy. All right. Intel is down 10% after earnings, and again you can see we had little divergence on PPO and RSI, and it did give a sell red triangle above. Okay, so now we're getting a massive gap down. There are a couple of gaps, even if there's a gap here. If I hide this line, so we got to be a bit careful. It can still go way lower than people can anticipate. They're also saying that the economy is slowing down. They're just giving warning signs. So you can go to 1 hour chart, try to draw these gaps and see which of these gaps make sense. So what you can do is go to 1 hour chart. You can try to find some of the gaps for you to help you to trade where it could find some support. So you can do this wherever you can find gaps. You can see multiple gaps are there on Intel. So this is, I'm just giving you an idea how you can decide. So it should find support in one of these gaps. Okay, right now it's opening right on this gap around 44.35. It can even go lower, 42.86. That's also a gap it can try to fill. All right. Boeing is another one. Actually, let's go to 1 hour chart on Boeing, and you can see this gap is filled. However, it another created another gap down. So you can see how nicely it fills the gap all the time. So this is another long-term stock if you want to add in your portfolio. And this gap is also filled. Now there's another gap here where we are right now. And there are multiple gaps at the top. Let's go to one daily chart. You can see now, I want to see some divergences building. That's what's I think will happen. I think I want to see stock going a little lower. This is a nice support area where it found support last time. So let's draw a box here on Boeing. So this whole area, this is where it found support. So let me extend this, something like this, and then we're gonna make it green and make this also green. Okay, so I think this is what I will be looking to see. Let it go grind a little lower with some divergences building. I don't see any divergence. I want to see new low with RSI start to making higher low and PPO making higher low. So I think it's gonna just stay here, make some divergence, and if it comes around 170, 180, that's a good area you should be looking to buy. So these three are on the top along with Tesla, fourth one, which I'm keeping an eye. All right, commodities. Oil is looking really good above all moving averages. I can see before putting it there, and facing resistance on this 200 EMA and SMA, light blue and dark blue line. Let's see if it can reject. So it broke out of this white line, straightly going higher. So I think it can still cool down. So if it goes down, look to buy the dip. Gold trying its best. It was up today. It's holding this yellow line, which is 50 EMA line. So gold is just consolidating, making higher high, higher low, higher high, and still a higher low. It really needs to break out, but it's right on support. You should be looking to buy on support. That's where it is right now. Silver, another good day today, going higher. So if it comes down a little bit lower on this white trend line, look to buy silver. Dollar also flagging, still flagging, trying to break out. Natural gas, another bad day. Um, but this is what I was expecting. Okay, so this gap was filled here, so it found resistance on this green line, which is 10 moving average, looking for new lows. So from here to mid Feb, so let me extend it here. So from here to mid Feb, looking for a new low, And you can see already we are making divergences. So we made a new low, RSI is higher, PPO is higher, looking for that to build up higher, and then I think somewhere in February should be the bottom. We are pretty much at the lowest levels, looking for new low, all right? And then that will be one of the best trades of this year if you can buy that. Already covered Bitcoin, Toronto Stock Exchange higher. Let's go to 1 hour chart and see if there's any gaps here. Uh, Today has a gap up, filled it. This gap around 21,297 is still there, so I'm going to leave it there. So eventually, sometime this gap should be filled. Hang Seng Index finding resistance on this white line, which is 20 moving average, closed below that. Actually, it closed above that. Now it's live market, so as long as it stays above that, and actually this white line is the resistance which I'm looking for it to break. As long as it's below that, I'm not going to be bullish on China. All right, let's keep moving. What else is here? Let's look at gold miners. Let's go to 1 hour chart and let me hide this line here. So you can see gold miners, another gap up. So another line here we have to put. So they will fill this eventually. I don't know when. So just like series of higher, 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 multiple gaps. So this is always not good whenever it's going higher with creating gaps. Should eventually come back to fill some of these gaps. Apple, let's quickly look at these mega caps and see if any of these have gaps. Yeah, so yeah, there you go. So we got gaps on Netflix. Here you go, another gap on Netflix here. All right. Amazon, no gaps here. Actually, this gap is filled. Meta, Facebook, this gap is filled. You can see how these gaps are always there to fill. There's no gap here on Microsoft. Google, also another gap here. So you can see Google also created a gap. Snowflakes, gap down. Nvidia, there's a gap, the gap up, and it came back to fill the gap. AVVGO came very close to filling this gap, still not there yet, but it's going to fill it tomorrow. You can see it's gapping down, so it will eventually fill this gap. AMD, gap up, and I think it's trying to fill this gap at 168. I think Intel is putting a lot of pressure on all these semiconductors because they're saying forecast is bad. Anyhow, Apple, let me bring in moving averages here. You can see Apple here. Tomorrow, I think most likely it's going to fill this gap at 191, and it's still going to hold here until earnings. Let me delete this chart until earnings on 1st of Feb. So I think it's just going to consolidate. Netflix, massive move. Eventually, this gap should fill. I don't know when. Just going to consolidate. Maybe next earnings. I don't know. It's going to, but looking very bullish above everything. So the only thing is the big divergence on RSI and PPO, telling me about some lower prices are ahead. Amazon above all moving average, finding support on this green line, still looking good. Facebook, multiple gaps here with divergence. You can see SI making lower high. PPO has no divergence, that's one thing. But if it goes down, look to buy on any of these gaps. Microsoft, same thing here, just keep going higher, multiple gaps. Eventually, most of these gaps should fill. Google also just keep going higher, multiple gaps. I'm very scared to buy any tech stocks, to be honest, at this time. Snowflake's also high. Nvidia just going straight up. Okay, very very careful. Be careful. AVGO gave everything back. This could be a reversal candle. Okay, if we keep going down, I think the first support is around here, 11146. Okay, look to buy there. AMD also, I think straight up. Maybe it will come straight down. So whenever you got straight up, it can. There's a potential it can come straight down. All right. So be careful there. All right, guys, that's it for today. I will see if anybody have questions. Not on this, so I will close it. Thank you.